The New York Mets make multiple moves as we're calming down from the trade deadline. Our acquisitions are here. We also have injury updates and more headed your way that excites fans because they can't wait to see the acquisitions and the injured players return tonight at home against the San Francisco Giants, which is exactly what we're going to talk about only here on Mets Digest. I'm your host today, Mike Duda. We're going to talk all these updates, but first we got to talk about some subscribers, and that being the fact that 69.9% of you that watch these videos aren't one. So please do me a favor, do us a favor here at Mets Digest, and hit that free subscribe button. That way we can bring content to you about the amazing. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right in. And we're going to start it off with an injury update, and that being Juan Soto, who should be back in the lineup tonight. This is from Wednesday, where it says the Mets' hope is that Juan Soto, who got hurt with a bruised left foot after taking a foul ball off the leg, indeed will be back in the lineup on Friday. There's even a chance he could pinch hit today, depending on how he feels. Now, that of course was on Wednesday in the game against the San Diego Padres. Right before that game, manager Carlos Mendoza said, "I think we dodged a bullet here." Of course, Soto did not end up playing in that game. It's only his second full missed game of 2025. The other one being sometime that he was benched in May against the Red Sox just because he wasn't performing whatsoever. Back when Juan Soto was not the Juan Soto that we all knew and loved. But regardless, he should be returning to tonight's starting lineup when the Mets begin a homestand against the San Francisco Giants here on August 1st per MLB.com's latest Met injuries and transactions. In fact, Carlos Mendoza is pretty confident about it. He says that Juan Soto was feeling better, but was not available for the Mets today. That, of course, being Wednesday. He says, though, that he's pretty confident Soto will be back in the lineup on Friday, which, of course, is tonight. So that is good news on the Juan Soto front. So let's turn it over to Francisco Alvarez, who also had an injury scare in that game on Wednesday. It's Garrett Stipin of SNY, who says Mets catcher Francisco Alvarez left Wednesday's game at the San Diego Padres in the 6th inning. Luis Torrens replaced him behind the dish in the frame's bottom half. Alvarez took a ball off the mask with an out and a runner on first base in the bottom of the 5th, but cleared concussion protocol. Mets manager Carlos Mendoza confirmed after New York's 5-0 loss. An injury delay ensued after Alvarez took the ball off the mask. He finished the inning before Torrens entered in the bottom of the 6th. So that's a good sign. The concussion protocol is clear. He also played for a little bit after taking that ball off the mask before he was eventually replaced. And it's important that we go over this kind of thing because honestly, with the trade deadline and all the hecticness of that, it seems as if some of these injury updates can go unnoticed. I, for one, didn't even realize, to be completely honest, that Francisco Alvarez was hurt until later on Wednesday. So it's, of course, very important to bring you guys these kind of updates. That way you can stay up to date about the team amidst all the craziness of the trade deadline that is finally behind us. One more video coming on that later today. David Stearns addressed the trade deadline, so we'll talk about that press conference. But for now, let's turn it to the skip, Carlos Mendoza, about the injury on Alvarez. He says right now it's a contusion, head contusion. We put him through the concussion protocols and he passed those. The doctor checked him out. So yeah, he went through all the tests and all that. He passed those, so he's allowed to fly back with us to New York. Of course, they have a series here at Citi Field, and we're going to treat it day by day. He was a little dizzy, obviously, but so again, passed the protocols, and as of right now, that's what we've got. So with that, let's turn it to the statuses per MLB.com's latest Met injury transactions on Alvarez. They say he passed concussion protocols after taking a check swing foul off his helmet in a July 30th game against the Padres. Flew back to New York with the Mets and could need additional rest, but doesn't appear to be an IL candidate. Now, that is very important because the Mets do have some IL candidates that we have injury updates on, and unfortunately, they are not as good. Both Jesse Winker and Jose Siri. This was from late last night via David Stearns. He is still hopeful Jesse Winker will return this season, but he hasn't made as much progress as he or the Mets would have liked after the epidural. Epidural basically is a shot that helps relax the muscle. It helps try and get that pain away for Winker. With the move to the 60-day IL, he isn't eligible to return until September 9th. He says they'll have a better idea in a week to 10 days whether Jose Siri will play this year. He only has 20 at-bats, 1 for 20 on the season, but not completely ruled out this year. Winker, of course, dealing with lower back inflammation. As for Siri, a fractured left tibia that he acquired way back when in April in Sacramento against the A's. So let's turn it back to that same article that gave you injury updates on Francisco Eduardo Alvarez. Let's turn to it for the Jesse Winker update. He received an epidural on July 18th to address continued back discomfort. Was scheduled to rest for another 7 to 10 days, meaning he should have been back by the end of the month, around now, but is still not close to starting baseball activities. Was subsequently transferred to the 60-day IL, making September 9th his earliest possible return date. His expected return is listed on that website as just September. There is no specific day, just the month of September. And as for Siri, it's even more vague. His expected return is the second half. Now, we've already been in the second half for a while. I personally don't see Jose Siri returning this year, and I think it's even a long shot with Jesse Winker. Maybe you can get him for the postseason. I think Jose Siri is done, though. As MLB.com says, he was shut down in early June after imaging showed the bone hadn't healed as well as the Mets initially hoped. Will not restart a running program before August, but team officials remain optimistic that he can return this year. I, for one, I don't want to be pessimistic, but I really do not believe Jose Siri will return. Of course, I hope so because it's more outfield depth and the more the merrier, but I don't see it happening. Regardless, we shall see. As let's turn it over to the recent transactions because Jesse Winker was a part of one. Of course, as you heard, transferred to the 60-day IL, meaning we will not see him until mid-September. You heard that September 9th is the earliest that Jesse Winker can return. As for our new additions, we are here. Cedric Mullins was added to the roster. Tyler Rogers reported to the Major League team. Chris Davinsky was optioned to AAA. And for those of you that are asking about Ryan Helsley, he simply took Jose Butto's spot. Butto, of course, was part of the Tyler Rogers deal. Go ahead and check out all those videos that Adam and I had you covered throughout the trade deadline with. So with that, we know that the Mets did not get a starting pitcher at the trade deadline. So what does that mean for some of our young prospects? Well, let's actually hear from Nolan McLean about the young prospect who is number 4 in the Mets system. Andy Martino of SNY, an insider, says with the Mets not trading for a starting pitcher, expect the likes of Nolan McLean to be in line for opportunities this year. Now, this is interesting. Blade Tidwell has made MLB starts before, but obviously he was a part of the Tyler Rogers deal and is no longer on the New York Met roster. As for Brandon Sproat, it looks like the Mets are going to McLean, and probably because his statistics are really, really solid this year. AAA, he's got an ERA just around the 3. He was killing it in AA. That's why he was promoted earlier this year after just 26 1/3 innings, got to AAA, and was really, really good as well. He had a 2.52 ERA on July 18th, but he had a rough start, giving up 5 earned runs in 3 2/3 innings, and that's why you have that ERA spike that you see. But it's still at a 3. I mean, a 3 is not bad whatsoever. So Nolan McLean definitely very well deserving of a potential spot in the starting rotation going down the stretch. Ideally, the Mets can get through August without having to turn to him. That way they can call him up for September call-ups, and he'll easily be able to come right back down, and you don't lose that extra year because you used him for September call-ups. I think David Stearns is smart enough and thinks in the future that he will end up doing that, but we shall see how the next month plays out. And speaking of starters, what is the deal with Clay Holmes? Well, Holmes said post-game on Wednesday after he got shelled that there have not been any conversations about moving him back to the bullpen. I, for one, think that he definitely should be, but we'll see. Maybe when McLean comes up, you can move him to the bullpen, move Holmes to the bullpen, and put McLean in the starting rotation, and then progressively work Frankie Montas out of the rotation. That way you can work a 3-man rotation in the postseason, assuming you make it, which the Mets should, of Kodai Senga, Sean Manaea, and David Peterson, which in my opinion is absolutely lethal, by the way. Now that update, of course, came after getting swept. So where are we at in the division after we lost 7-6, 7-1, and 5-0 to the San Diego Padres? Well, we're still half a game up on the Philadelphia Phillies. We are tied in the loss column, however, because Philly lost 2 out of 3 to the Chicago White Sox. So definitely not a good start to the week for either teams. However, the Mets definitely have the edge because they had a way better trade deadline than the Phillies. Go ahead and check out my trade deadline reaction video from last night if you haven't already. David Stearns, excellent, excellent job. You did fantastic. So with that, let's turn it over to someone that I think should be the captain of this franchise in Francisco Lindor. He talked about the Mets' struggles and his struggles in particular, saying we have to be better if we're trying to accomplish what we want to accomplish. This is the time to play better baseball, including myself. I have been better. I have not been good enough. So, speaking of needing to improve, we know that Tyrone Taylor does. His offense has been really, really, really bad, but it's not from a lack of trying. Take a look at this picture. Tyrone Taylor was the last person to leave the dugout in Wednesday's loss in San Diego, and as you can see, he's got the iPad in front of him. He's trying to improve his hitting any way he can. Looking at film, you got to root for the guy. I mean, he is doing everything he possibly can to improve his bat, and his defense is stellar. He's going to find playing time, especially with Jose Siri possibly out for the rest of the year, even Jesse Winker out for possibly the rest of the year. The addition of Cedric Mullins does not change the role for Tyrone Taylor whatsoever. Yeah, he'll get less starts because it's going to be Nimmo, Mullins, and Soto in the outfield on pretty much an everyday basis, with McNeil shifting back to the infield. But Tyrone Taylor is still that fourth outfielder, and he'll still come in the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning for defensive purposes. It's just I really hope he starts to find a little bit better of a bat, because he's obviously trying, he's giving it his all, and you got to feel for the guy. But he'll still play, he'll still be on this roster, which is a good sign. So go down there in the comment section, give me your thoughts. Do you think Jose Siri is going to return this year? What about Jesse Winker? As for Tyrone Taylor, you got to feel for him. I mean, it's unfortunate for him. As for the new acquisitions, how are you guys feeling about that? Give me all your comments. Let me know what you think about the Mets as we finally return to baseball. We haven't played baseball since only Wednesday. It's been less than 48 hours since the Mets have played a game, and it feels like it's been 5 days with the trade deadline. So, speaking of that, one more video to come on the deadline as David Stearns addressed the trade deadline. So that is coming to you in just a little bit. But unfortunately, that's all the time I have for you in this update video about basically everything, transactions, injury updates, and more. So, thank you so much as always for watching, and let's go Mets!